Tragic scenes are coming in from Andhra today. A religious gathering turned into a nightmare at the Sri Venkateswara Swamy Temple in Srikakulam, where a massive stampede claimed at least 9 lives, including 8 women and 1 child, and left several others injured. On the auspicious, in fact, occasion of Ekadashi, what was meant to be a moment of devotion became a moment of panic as crowds surged and chaos broke out inside the temple complex. Emergency teams and police reached the spot quickly. The injured have now been taken to nearby hospitals, and officials fear that the death toll may further go up. Visuals from the temple premises show a chaotic scene with devotees lying on the ground as others try to help.
Kasibuga PS limits. Today one unfortunate incident happened where there are total 9 people have lost their lives, 8 female and 1 boy. So the incident was due to there was a queue line where entry and exit was same queue line was used, and that iron grill which was there, it got collapsed, and the height of that steps was around 7 feet. So the public fell from 7 feet to the ground. So because of that, this incident has happened. It's a private temple where a private person has constructed in his private land, and he hasn't taken any permissions also, and he hasn't informed about today's program to the local police also.
And Andhra Pradesh Chief Minister Chandrababu Naidu has expressed deep sorrow over the stampede at the temple in Srikakulam district and has ordered a thorough investigation into the incident, calling the loss of lives very sad and heartbreaking. Naidu said that the organizers of the private temple failed to inform the police and local officials about the event, and a large number of devotees gathered without proper arrangements or prior intimation to the authorities. He assured that the government is committed to preventing such tragedies and has directed officials to ensure proper medical care for the injured.
కాశీబుగ్గ టౌన్లో ఒక ప్రైవేటు వ్యక్తి వెంకటేశ్వర దేవాలయాన్ని కట్టాడు. అక్కడి నుంచి కార్తీక మాసం ఈరోజు చాలామంది అక్కడ దర్శనానికి వెళ్ళిపోయారు. కనీసం ఆయన చేసినప్పుడు పోలీసుకు కూడా చెప్పలేదు. చెప్పుంటే పోలీస్ ప్రొటెక్షన్ పెట్టి ఎక్కడికక్కడ కంట్రోల్ చేసేవారం. అది చేయని దానివల్ల 9 మంది తొక్కిడికి గురయ్యి చనిపోయే పరిస్థితికి వచ్చారు. 5 మందికి ఇంజరీస్ కూడా అయినాయి. ఇది చాలా బాధాకరం. నేను ప్రతి ఒక్క ప్రాణాన్ని కాపాడుకోవాలని అనేక ప్రయత్నాలు చేస్తూ ఉంటే కొంతమంది ప్రైవేటు వ్యక్తులు ఇలాంటి కార్యక్రమాలు చేయడం చాలా బాధాకరం. దీన్ని నేను చాలా తీవ్రంగా ఖండిస్తున్నా. రాష్ట్రంలో అందరికి కూడా విజ్ఞప్తి చేస్తున్నా, మనకు మన ప్రాణం చాలా ముఖ్యం.
And Prime Minister Modi has also expressed grief and offered condolences. He has announced an ex gratia of 2 lakh rupees each for the next of kin of those who died and 50,000 rupees for the injured. Notably, Sri Venkateswara Swamy Temple is a private shrine and not under the Endowments Department. It was inaugurated only 4 months ago. The gathering reportedly took place without prior government approval. The area where the devotees had assembled was still under construction and with only 1 entry and exit route. So the minute panic broke out when the steel railings collapsed, it triggered a massive stampede. Let's now cut across to Nara Lokesh, who's speaking live on the matter.
Like never before, pilgrims came here. They wanted to take the blessings of the Lord. This is a private temple, and from morning 6 to afternoon 12, in the first half, they do darshans. Then they take a break, and again at 3 p.m. they again reopen the temple. The temple has clearly 2 ways. One is an entry and the other one is an exit. At 11:30 a.m., because there is unknown amount of rush, the entry point was closed. So a lot of people who came felt that they could go through the exit route, and that created a lot of suffocation. and if it's also stepped, entries has steps. So the person on the top tripped and fell, and it resulted in a cascading effect. And also the queue planners that are there were not planned for this kind of crowd. Generally, you have to go, when so much of crowd is expected, minimum 7 inches inside, you need to anchor the queue management system, barricades. But what has happened is here, it's only close to 2.5 inches. So the barricades fell, and on one side, if you had noticed, once they fall, they straight fell onto the cement beam, and then the cement flooring that was on the side. And majority of them who passed away are women. It's very unfortunate this incident happened. As soon as we got to know, so the incident happened, within 5 minutes we got to know. I reached out to the Honorable MLA and the Honorable Minister here.
All right, that is TDP leader Nara Lokesh. Now, the political blame game has begun. Former Chief Minister Y.S. Jagan Mohan Reddy has slammed the government. He says this isn't the first time, pointing to the earlier stampedes at Tirupati and Simhachalan. He calls it repeated negligence and a failure to learn, a failure to act, and a failure to protect devotees.
Of public, thousands of people, they have visited the Chinna Tirumala temple in Kasipugga. At this juncture, I would like to ask the government, what are the preventive aspects you have taken? What are the preventive measures you have taken? How many police personnel were deployed over there? All these issues are really matters. Whenever there are 30 to 50,000 people gathered in one particular place on this particular auspicious day, and even though the organizers of the temple, the management committee of the temple, they informed the government and informed the police in prayer, they have taken the permission in prayer. In spite of all these, no such preventive measures were taken.
Remember, this is the 5th major temple crush this year where innocent devotees have lost their lives. The question now is simple. Should temples be held accountable for crowd safety, or at least be far more careful while hosting such massive gatherings? And why wasn't today's stampede avoidable? Why could it not have been avoided? I think that's the question we're all asking. Joining me on the show is M. Linga Reddy, senior leader TDP. Also with us is K. S. Prasad, who's a political analyst, Suresh Kochatil, who's a political analyst, and Sumit Bhattacharjee, who's the chief of bureau, The Hindu from Andhra Pradesh. Sumit, I want to come to you first. Let's take our viewers through what really happened this morning at the temple. We now know that about 10 people are dead, more than 15 people are currently in the hospital. We're hearing all the official bites and official reaction. What have you picked up? What really transpired?
See, this temple was constructed newly. And it was around, I think 6 months back, it was consecrated for and thrown open to the public. And normally every Saturday is 1,500, 1,200 to 2,000 maximum people visit the temple. Now, the background of the temple, you must have heard about this person who couldn't get entry into Tirumala Darshan. He built this temple from his family funds on his around 12 acres of land. Now, what happened is that today suddenly, none expected, neither the temple, it's a private temple. So that Mukund Panda, who owns the temple, or rather owns the trust, he didn't anticipate that there'll be 15 to 20,000 at a time rush. So I think it was unprecedented rush. There was no arrangement to handle that rush from the temple side, as well as the police. They say that police were not informed. Even they agreed to it that police were not informed because they didn't agree this much amount of rush. So at a time, so much of people going in, and I think there was one entry and one exit point and one stairways to it with a barricade of aluminum railing. So during the process, the railing on one side where people were going up, it collapsed and it fell. They fell down. People fell down. I think 6 to 10 feet height they fell down, and they directly fell on the cement slabs and beams, which because if we see the bodies, we could see they were head injuries, bleeding injuries.
Right.
It's not out of suffocation. In a stampede, we normally see that people die of that. People might have died. It might be a catalyst to it, but they were head injuries. We could see that bleeding injuries on them. That means they had a fall.
Absolutely.
Where they must have hit their head and they could have died. And they were elderly people, 45, 50-year-old women. 8 of them were women. 1 was a child. So basically, what we see that it is something where we missed out on, anticipating so much of rush. And and ultimately they could not handle it.
Okay.
So that led to this accident. Yeah.
Okay. Could it have been anticipated? I think that's the question emerging today. Yes, Prasad,
Yes.
do you believe that this sort of rush could have been anticipated? It was Ekadashi, so some rush was expected. Now, Sumit is pointing out that the kind of people who turned up, massive numbers, that could have been not anticipated.
So good evening, ma'am, and good evening to the panelists, and good evening to the viewers. Ma'am, it's clearly evident the situations are repeatedly happening as far as Hindu devotees are concerned, particularly in Andhra Pradesh. The series of offences as far as Ekadashi is concerned in Tirumala, and the event of January, the same situation has happened, and people of on an aggregate 6 people got died. And recent past Simachalam, again it has got more than 7 people who have died. Today in Kasibugga, the same thing has repeated. The ignorance and negligence of respect to government and instant reactive mode as far as police department is concerned, whether it has been given into their notice or not, the particular territory as far as police station is concerned, if all of a sudden the crowd is gathering and mob is accumulating over there, it is their primary responsibility to provide basics. Because in democracy, people are very smartly saying from today morning itself, it's a private temple. I'm not contradicting that. Even TDP, TTD board itself, all the private people, who is BR Naidu, is also a private person. He's not a Reserve Bank governor and all. Na? People will be deployed by the respect of these things. And if you really look into the statewide, any temples, people, political leaders have been given an opportunity as a committee members and all. This is what the longest ovation which was happening from years together. In this particular scenario, today, this gentleman, Mr. Panda, and his son is got arrested. His age is around 94, and he's in the police station since the morning itself. And it is the cost of this thing and the humiliation which was taken place in Tirumala. There is subsequent development. He has constructed this temple. And today, anticipation of crowd is a measurable failure by the people around, like police department and the own temple itself. So a capacity of 1,000 and 1,500 can be accommodated in the darshan situation.
Okay.
All of a sudden, 25,000 plus people, anybody can't even think in their own way. It is not possible. The first of all, discipline itself from the people around is not there.
Right.
And obviously, the rush towards the darshan and the auspicious day, this need to be, these are all demanding situations, people taking undue advantage of the circumstances, and suddenly the stampede has taken place at the cost of their own lives.
Okay.
On the Prime Minister itself has announced a 2 lakhs ex gratia and a 50,000 people who have been injured. The state government, there is no response. A person who is happened to be the opposition leader right now, he is a lost MLA. Sidiri Appal Raju, by profession, is a doctor. He literally has saved 2 lives there by doing CRV. This is what the people's responsibility.
All right.
I have been seeing
Understood. Let me quickly take this question to Mr. Linga Reddy. Therefore, Mr. Linga Reddy, I'm not so sure if it's Hindu temple specific, but I do agree with K.S. Prasad that you have enough crowd management systems in place and they could have been deployed. You should have anticipated, the government should have anticipated that this is the crowd that is moving towards one place. You can't say that we were all taken aback, we were all caught in surprise, and more importantly, you have some very hard questions to answer, sir. People of Andhra are looking up to you and asking hard questions.
Okay, to you, to the panelists and viewers, good evening. I express my condolence and sympathy to the bereaved families. Though it is a private temple or endowment temple, it is the responsibility of the government police department to see that proper preparation arrangements, security to be provided. But it's a case where the police department was not informed, and there was no occasion or no expectation for the police to make security arrangements. Jagan Mohan Reddy, ex-Chief Minister, Sindhila Prazu, and my friend panelist are blaming the government that despite the information from the management to the police, security was not provided. It's totally incorrect. The temple management themselves said that they did not inform the police. So the government cannot be blamed for everything. But there will be certain things beyond the control of the government. And if if the information was given to the police and they sought security, if the government failed in providing security, it's okay. Their allegations and criticism can be accepted. It's a case where there is unprecedented and uncontrollable mob. The grill collapsed. From there, some
I understand, and you're right. The temple authorities, the temple authorities did not inform you, but that's not my question, sir. My question is simple. Could you have anticipated it? It was the occasion of Ekadashi. I'm sure you have enough, police officials. You have enough ways to measure where people are going towards a certain direction. When 10 to 20,000 people try and assemble in one place, there are enough checks and balances. There are enough cops in place who can, anticipate that crowd is swelling, and therefore we must be present there.
Yes, yes. On the previous Ekadashi occasions also, there might not be any information. So the police did not have information on the previous occasions and this occasion also. So there will be a list of temples in every police station for which the security has to be provided for the occasions like Ekadashi. So in that list, this temple might have not find a place because the management did not inform previously and on this today's occasion also. That's why it is it's not it is not negligent or it is intentional. It is mere a communication gap. There was no communication to the police. It is true that the management might not have expected this sort of large crowd. So they might have thought that honestly, why should we inform police and
right.
Why should we trouble them? Because when these sort of Ekadashi occasions, celebrations, etc., ceremonies went on peacefully without any disturbance or insecurity problem, they might not have informed.
Okay, understood. Let me then get Suresh Kochatal in this conversation. Suresh Kochatal, you've been listening to your panelists. I think some of the points that are now coming to light, which are alarming when we read about what was happening in the temple. We only know now that there was a single entry and exit point. We also know that there was hardly any crowd management in place. And as the railings fell, so did people. Mostly women died. Out of the 9 to 10 people who are dead, 8 are women, 1 is child, one person and their identity is unknown. My question to you is, do you think this could have been avoided? Because a lot of people today would be looking at the government and hoping to get some serious hard answers. Can this tragedy, when it repeats over and over, this is the 5th Stampede, sir, in a year's time, could it have been avoided?
Well, it's like this, we are always very good. They say hindsight is an advanced science. After an event happens, we have experts who will come and tell you why it happened. That is the problem. Now, when this temple was constructed in the first place, did anybody look at the exit and entry points? Because I believe it's constructed on 12 acres of land, which is pretty huge. And our 2 crores was spent on the temple. The basic stuff would have been to understand a crowd management system where the entry and exit points are separate. I'll give you an example. Forget the temple part of it. We have Tirumala as an example, which is an excellent one, where I remember during N.T. Ramarao's time, the queue management system started, excellently maintained. But even there, during the recent past, there was a stampede incident. The problem is lack of discipline amongst us. I don't blame the government entirely. Yes, they have a role in it. There's no doubt about it. But the point is, we see this happening over and over and over again. We see people rushing out from cinema theaters as if the hall is on fire. We see people getting up in the flight even before the flight has even come to a standstill. We see people rushing out in different places and rushing in. You take a railway station, for example. I'll give you an example. There is a staircase with people going up and down. And in instances like Chhat Puja and all that, there are lakhs of people traveling. All it requires is one person to stumble and the rest will fall on him. Okay. And there'll be 5 or 10 people who will die of stampede. So the problem is there was never a segregation on the railway bridge for people walking up and people walking down. And everybody is in a rush. Everybody in India is in a rush because they all want to kind of go and do something very important. This lack of discipline is something that rankles me. Even today morning when I spoke on your channel, I said the same thing. We are not disciplined. Look at the way we get into a metro train. Forget people in a temple. In a metro train, I mean, at least in Hyderabad, I don't see any lines. People stand in the line, but moment the train arrives, they don't even allow people who are inside the train to get out, and they want to get in before and grab a seat.
Okay.
That is the discipline of educated people. So you can imagine what happens to people who are not that educated. This priority is simple. I, me, myself. Rest can go to hell kind of thing. That is what is happening. And that lack of discipline is telling us in every sphere of life, be it jumping traffic signals, be it kind of, when fires, saw the Kurnool bus disaster. Everything is back to normal. Nothing is happening today. The buses are still running without any permits, without any kind of firefighting equipment, converting seats into sleepers, tampering with the electrical fittings, tampering with the load of the vehicle everywhere. Because see, the problem is simple. I think it was Stalin or somebody who said, a single death is a tragedy, a million is a statistic. And that is what it's all about. People are dying, 140 crores. So what happens if you die? That is what me and you will forget about the incident 1 week from now till another stampede happens. We saw this repeatedly. This happened in Shabarimala a few years ago.
Right.
They took crowd control measures there also. But the problem is people have to be disciplined. No matter how many cops you put out there, unless there is a proper discipline among people, things will not work out. Even the best of the police management, things can go wrong. We saw at Kaaba, we saw what happened in the Holy Hajj season once, when there was a huge stampede and a lot of people died.
Right.
The discipline is there. After that, they changed the design, everything.
Absolutely. So I think we're all only wiser in hindsight. Sumit, I think, what we're drawing from all these examples of late, be it the tragedy today, or be it the Bengaluru stampede or the Karur stampede, I think, a lot of questions are asked in hindsight. We're only wiser in hindsight. So the question, therefore, I want an answer to right now is, of course, there's a problem with civic sense. Of course, there's a problem with, people being hasty in the manner they approach crowded places, not having enough patience, not having enough civic sense. And that's an education that I think we need to be giving to our people, to our kids from very early on when it comes to their school age. But as far as crowd management is concerned, it largely is a government responsibility. So at this point in time, can the government, shy away from taking responsibility, saying that this was a privately owned temple, they did not inform us on time, so therefore we couldn't have done anything?
No, I mean, first of all, my condolences to all the people, because the family of the deceased is very sad that it happened on an auspicious day. But there are a couple of things that I would like to point out. One is there's a mechanism in place. We are in a state which is highly, we talk of surveillances, RTGS, a lot of things are happening. Is it a common thing that, as some Mr. Suresh and others pointed out, that, so much of people rushing? There's an intelligence, isn't it? There's a ground intelligence which could have alerted the police that, there is a huge rush gathering here, we need to check on what is happening. That is one thing that I think they could have handled it. I think we might have missed out on that. Anticipating a crowd, and if the crowd was not anticipated, okay, fine. But what about the development on scene? So that is one aspect that I think we need to look at, that somewhere did we have a communication gap or little lack of intelligence failure, that there's a huge crowd gathering. Because once you have a dharna, is 5 people doing a dharna and a 5,000 people doing dharna, it comes to the notice, isn't it? So I think that is one. Then second thing is the temple management themselves should have taken care of something, some sort of a crowd management system which missed out. Then another important aspect is the planning aspect. The people, when they build the temple, obviously there was a plan that was passed, isn't it? So it should have been obvious that there should be an easy entry point and an exit point. They can't have the same stairways for the entry and exit, isn't it? It is any day, if not today, 10 years down the line or 20 years down the line, the temple crowd can improve, isn't it? It can rush up. So there should have been a proper plan in place. How could the plan be passed that, you have a one entry and exit point, same stairways? And as a lot of people pointed out, discipline, that is obviously there. That is a sentimental thing that we should talk about. People do rush to temples, do go to people. Even today, what I understand is that suddenly there was around 11:30, from 9:30, the crowd started swelling. Around 11:30, there was a huge, around 11 from onwards, there was a huge rush. Everybody wanted to move forward. Everybody wanted to, because today, after the cyclone thing happened, entire moisture sucked out, and there was heat, pretty good heat.
Right.
So people were suffering from the heat. People wanted to get into the shade and rush and have a darshan and go home, and they were on fast. A lot of factors played for the people to rush to the stairways. So I think these couple of things, I mean, we need to look at, but every time we do a postmortem, I mean, finally what do the results happen is to be seen.
Yes, absolutely. And far too many tragedies happening far too many times now, at least in the last couple of weeks. K.S. Prasad, what do we do from here? How can the government ensure that there is enough monitoring during peak festival days? What is your suggestion to the government as far as mandatory audits is concerned, ensuring that there are queue system, there is emergency and medical response system in time so that there is readiness to save lives? What are your suggestions?
I am a small person. I cannot give any suggestions. We need to learn lessons. Only lessons every time what we are watching is they'll wash their hands by announcing ex gratia. Second thing, they don't bother. This is the first time I'm hearing a sound from our respective government. This is the private. What does it mean by? If somebody goes for a private place, it is not the government's responsibility to protect us, to give the basics. That the crowd gathering is such. The gentleman, what he's saying absolutely is right. Like, it is the primary courtesy, the crowd management. Second part, management, everyone cannot do that. But as far as the ground reports from the respective intelligence, there's 20,000 plus people are gathering in one particular point. As Suresh sir said very clearly, we are not having any discipline at all. It is clearly knows for the 140 crores people. We doesn't have any discipline at all. If government's primary understanding should be very clear, when people who won't have discipline, how we need to give protection for them. If they have this sort of ideology, taking excuses instead of taking excuses like it's a private temple, people doesn't have any discipline. I am accepting. I don't have any discipline. How I need to be protected if I goes out? This needs to be corrected by the respective governments. Then only.
Absolutely. Mr. Linga Reddy, I think there are a lot of questions, as I mentioned at the start of this discussion, for your government to answer right now. Apart from announcing compensation, what hard steps are you going to take to ensure that such an incident doesn't repeat? So are we expecting perhaps more rigorous safety checks when it comes to private temples, to ensure that there is adequate infrastructure that is in line with the guidelines? Are we expecting more crowd control? We want to know right now, what hard steps is your government going to take?
Certainly, measures have to be taken for the safety of the public and saving the lives of the public, and no such drastic casualties occurred. Paying ex gratia, taking medical care, etc., etc. These are routine things. Every government is supposed to do service to the injured or the family members of the dead people. We know that the Kurnool bus accident is a peculiar accident. No human being expect this sort of accident would have taken place. A bike was stopped in the middle of the highway. The biker hit the divider and died on the spot. When the bus was given very close to the bike, till then the bike was not visible. When it was, the bus was blown over the bike, there's some fire generated, a diesel tank burst, and about 20 people died. So this sort of accident is not expected about. That's why the government also could not,
I have to say, sir, I think people expect better from a government than saying we can't expect some things.
Then government will take action. In Tirupati case, on Ekadashi occasion, thousands of people were there in a park. For the sake of a sick person to be sent to the hospital, gates were opened. In the meantime, thousands of devotees pushed the gates and came out, and stampede was taken place.
So are you saying, are you basically telling me today, are you telling me that there is nothing, are you telling me that there is nothing your government can do, sir? Because now, at this point, it looks like to me you're saying, this happens, it's unanticipated, cannot be anticipated, there's nothing we can do. Are you saying that?
Certainly. As they happened in a particular way, particular fashion, it is certainly lessons to the government in future what sort of things how to be faced and security arrangement how to be made. Certainly, there are lessons and measures to suit the a specific type of actions
Okay.
when taken, security provided, lives are saved. This is the responsibility of the every government.
Yes, sir. And I hope, sir, you take your responsibility seriously. I hope you do. A lot of people are looking at you today, hoping that you'll own up to the mistakes that the government has made and take your responsibilities seriously. Suresh Kotachal, do you think we need to review our policy on pilgrims, on crowd management, especially when it comes to temple visits, because that's where most of the tragedies are happening these days?
No, I think we're missing the wood for the trees, because I agree with you on the temple part of it. Remember the Kumbakonam fire disaster in which I think over 80 children died in that accident, horrible accident? It started from a fire in the kitchen in the basement of the building. I can tell you in Hyderabad, from where I am, there are hundreds of schools which operate in commercial complexes. And most of those buildings have a restaurant or something in the basement. They operate the tea shops, basement, full-fledged restaurants. What happens if a cylinder blasts? I can tell you that the children will go up in flames because there is no policy. Because who gave the permission for these schools in the first place to be located in commercial complexes? Where are the exits and entries? I know one school next to my house, which has got only a single staircase going up and down 4 floors. If it should not happen. God forbid it happens. But if it happens, there's no escape for the children. Absolutely. The children are not being trained because there's only one exit and entry point. So if it catches fire, where will the children go? Who is giving permission? The people who give permission for such schools, such in commercial complexes, should be the ones who should be prosecuted right now. The GHMC officials, or whoever it is. Temples, we can still live with it because temples have seasonal things. It's like, they have a certain season there.
Okay.
The school happens every day, every working day. And that is where it's a tragic thing, because elders can still take some decisions. But young kids panic. And that is what we need to do. And I think here is something that the state government, I can challenge the Telangana government, I can challenge the Andhra government, or any other government of the country.
Right.
They are negligent because for us, a life lost is not a big thing.
Absolutely.
That is the main problem.
In fact, it's not just the Telangana government or the Andhra government. It's been the previous Delhi government. It's been Maharashtra government. Many such incidents which could have been avoidable instance where young, innocent people lost their lives. And I think it all boils down to the complacency between people who don't want to abide by guidelines, building principles, fire NOCs, are still given those sort of NOCs by people who perhaps pocket enough and more money, make themselves rich at the cost of innocent life.